David, a weather officer, is dispatched by the government to a desolate, uninhabited island in the South Atlantic Ocean to monitor its changing weather patterns. The island is isolated, surrounded by the vast sea, and was once home to another officer, Robert, who had completed his year-long duty and left. As David arrives with the ship's crew, he is struck by the eerie emptiness of the island. The lighthouse and a small house are the only buildings present. Inside the house, David finds Robert's belongings scattered about, suggesting something went terribly wrong. Intrigued, David explores further. When he heads to the lighthouse, he meets a man named Gruner, who tells him that Robert died mysteriously after going to the sea and never returned. Despite Gruner's odd behavior and unsettling demeanor, David decides to stay, believing that if he completes his mission, the government will reward him handsomely. The captain warns David to stay alert and offers him a gun for protection before leaving the island. But David dismisses the concern, feeling secure in his solitude. After the captain leaves, David begins to settle into the house. While organizing the space, he stumbles upon Robert's diary, which includes unsettling drawings and notes about strange creatures that inhabit the island. The creatures are described as being monstrous and hostile, but there are gaps in the diary, leaving much to David's imagination. As David reads more, he grows increasingly curious and disturbed. The diary suggests that Robert was not only observing the weather, but also the growing threats around him. As David goes about his daily routine, he notices strange patterns on the shore, rocks arranged in odd formations, with shells placed carefully between them. While initially suspecting Gruner, David doesn't dwell on it and continues his work. But when he looks through his binoculars and sees Gruner with another person, only for the figure to vanish moments later, doubt creeps in. When he opens it, a hideous, inhuman hand reaches under the door, and David runs to hide in the basement. Something sinister is lurking in the shadows, and it's not alone. The terrifying creature begins its search for David. Its steps, slow but deliberate. David, heart racing with fear, can hear the creature's growls echoing through the house. As it approaches, David takes a knife, prepared for the worst. In a desperate act of survival, he stabs the creature in the eye, causing it to scream in pain and retreat. Although David temporarily escapes, the creature's presence on the island is undeniable. He spends the night in fear, knowing that it's not just a single creature he's facing, but a whole breed of them. The next morning, he notices strange footprints leading toward the sea. Footprints that don't belong to any human. His fears intensify as he realizes that the creatures are not just figments of Robert's imagination, but real, living threats. As David tries to gather his bearings, he understands that the island is far from empty, and that his survival is now more in question than ever. As David grows more paranoid, he confronts Gruner about the creatures. Gruner dismisses David's concerns, but his unease only grows. David starts to suspect that Gruner knows far more than he is letting on. One evening, David discovers more disturbing clues inside the lighthouse. There are drawings of monstrous creatures and cryptic notes detailing how they were once human, transformed by some unknown force into the horrors that now stalk the island. Gruner, it seems, has been hiding the truth from David all along. The creatures are not merely beasts. They are cursed, mutated humans, and Gruner's obsession with the island has made him their master. David realizes that the island's dark history goes deeper than he could have imagined. The truth about Robert's death, the creatures, and Gruner's twisted role in it all dawns on him. The island has become a prison, and David is now trapped, with no way out but to face the creatures or risk becoming part of their terrifying legacy. David knows he can't rely on Gruner anymore. After learning the truth, he formulates a plan to escape the island. But there's one major obstacle. He's surrounded by a vast ocean, with no way to get back to civilization. Determined to survive, David decides to take a chance. He discovers diving equipment in the lighthouse and, realizing there's a wrecked ship somewhere beneath the waves, he believes he may find weapons or supplies. There, Gruner warns David that there's no escape, but David is resolved to make his way out. He takes the risk and dives into the ocean, hoping to find something that could change his fate. As he reaches the wreck, he finds boxes filled with weapons, but when he turns around, the creatures are there, lurking in the deep. David tries to escape, but the creatures are closing in fast. With only his instincts and the wreck's debris to shield him, David struggles to survive long enough to make it back to the surface. With the creatures closing in, David returns to the lighthouse, clutching the weapons he found underwater. He knows this will be his last stand. Inside the lighthouse, Gruner is waiting, but his intentions are far from clear. David sets up explosives around the entrance, preparing for the inevitable attack. That night, the creatures emerge from the ocean, their monstrous forms closing in on the lighthouse. Gruner opens fire. It's clear that they are overwhelmed. The creatures outnumber them, and the final battle begins. David, frantic and terrified, tries to hold them off, while Gruner struggles to maintain control. The explosions go off, and the island is rocked by a series of deafening blasts. For a moment, it seems like David and Gruner have won. But they both know that this is only temporary. The creatures are relentless, and the war is far from over. As the night ends, David knows that he has fought hard to survive. His last hope is that someone will come to rescue him before it's too late. In the aftermath of the battle, as the dust settles, David makes a startling discovery. He finds a picture of Gruner's wife in the lighthouse, alongside a photograph of him from a time when he was known as Robert. The truth finally becomes clear. Gruner is actually Robert, the previous weather officer. He had assumed a new identity to remain on the island, unable to leave his self-imposed prison. The isolation, grief over his wife's death, and his obsession with power had twisted him into the man David had come to fear. Gruner, or Robert, was once a different person, but the island's haunting presence had driven him to madness. As David pieces together the story, he realizes that his own survival on this cursed island may be short-lived. The creatures, once thought to be mindless, have their own desires for freedom. As David watches them disappear into the ocean, he wonders if they will ever truly be free, or if the island will claim yet another victim in the ongoing struggle for power and survival.